The feminist movement has therefore been utterly ineffective in helping women and bringing about true change. Women are still oppressed, they're still mistreated, there's still sexual assault. The reason we are dealing with all of these issues still in this society, this progressive society of ours, is that we are dealing with a moral problem. The reason is that we are dealing with a moral problem. And this leads to a second observation that I want to make. Number 2, our society is hungry, it's aching, it's crying out for justice and moral revolution. Our society is hungry for justice and moral revolution. Female oppression is a moral problem, right? The claim that men shouldn't abuse women is a moral claim. Demanding that men, quote unquote, do better, as the Me Too movement demands, that is a moral demand. Even the idea that women ought to be valued and protected from abuse, that is a moral value. But these moral values assume something, don't they? These moral values assume an objective moral standard. Otherwise, you can't have these moral values. If there is no God, there is no objective moral standard. Think about it this way. If atheism is true, on what basis do women or men have any objective moral worth at all? We're merely the accidental byproduct of chance, no different than any other living organism on the speck of dirt we call Earth. We're all doomed to die in the eventual heat death of the universe trillions of years from now. Human life will be utterly inconsequential in the grand scheme of things. We've all evolved from primordial goo just the same as mosquitoes and rats. If atheism is true, why should we treat human beings as special? Where do we get these delusions that we have these moral obligations toward one another, that people have intrinsic dignity and they're worthy of respect? After all, on the atheistic view, humans are just animals, and animals have no moral responsibility. We don't sentence a hyena to prison for murder when it kills a wildebeest, right? That would be ridiculous. We don't condemn male dolphins as rapists when they forcibly copulate with female dolphins. Why? Because they're just being animals. So if humans are just animals too, then on what basis can we truly say that men should, quote unquote, do better? On what basis can we truly say that women should be protected? Without God, we have no objective basis for saying that Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein, and all the rest are really morally wrong. We can't say it. We can disagree with it, but we have no moral basis to say that it really is morally wrong. In fact, it gets even worse. If God doesn't exist, if life came about only by natural causes whereby the strong overpowers the weak, survival of the fittest, how can we even say that crimes like rape are morally wrong? We can't. There was a paper written in 2002 by 2 evolutionary sociobiologists, Randy Thornhill and Craig Palmer, and the title of their paper was Why Men Rape. In this paper, they conclude that rape has a quote-unquote evolutionary basis. It's not about control or domination, they say, but a sexual impulse within men that has evolved. Rape has evolved as a reproductive strategy, quote unquote. Men who were unable to get a woman any other way would just take them by force. But if the impulse to sexually overpower women is the result of evolution, as they say, then within the naturalistic, atheistic worldview, it is not only morally neutral, it is necessary for human survival. Naturalism, therefore, gives humans no intrinsic value. Again, we're all just animals. The naturalistic, atheistic worldview gives us no imperative to protect the vulnerable in society. It gives us no imperative to do better. So what is the secular solution to this problem? Because we all agree it's a problem. Even the atheist and the secularist agrees that this is a problem. They have no logical or objective basis for that moral judgment, but still we all agree it's a problem. Well, in their paper, Thornhill and Palmer, they don't explain why, according to their worldview, behavior such as rape is wrong. And they don't explain how concepts like right and wrong can even exist to begin with, according to their worldview. However, they nevertheless propose a solution, and that is an education program for young boys, informing them of their evolved sexual desires. This is what they write, quote, "Most of all, the program should stress that a man's evolved sexual desires offer him no excuse whatsoever for raping a woman, and that if he understands and resists those desires, he may be able to prevent their manifestation in sexually coercive behavior." End quote. He may be able to prevent its manifestation if he understands his evolved sexual desires. In other words, if men understand why their brains evolved to be what they are, they might be able to stop themselves from raping. In other words, you are an animal. And if you understand that you're an animal, maybe you'll learn to live not like an animal or something. That's the solution. Inform men that they are a slave to nature. And if they know that, maybe they'll be able to control themselves. Dr. Katie McCoy does a great job of just ripping this to shreds and exposing the logical flaws in this kind of thinking. Here's what she says, quote, even this suggestion implies a moral code that is incongruent with purely biological explanations for such sexually corrosive behavior. If sexual assault is an adaptation, upon what moral basis would a man attempt to, quote, prevent its manifestation? Upon what moral basis would a government even penalize a man for such a crime? After all, maybe his brain made him do it. This is the logical conclusion of the naturalistic, atheistic worldview. There is no objective basis for female dignity. There is no objective basis for moral behavior. Without God, all we're left with is naturalism. And as we've seen, naturalism gives us no real solutions. Secular feminism doesn't work. It hasn't worked. It has failed. It cannot bring about true change in society whereby women are valued and protected